Hello everybody and welcome to the MoneyShift channel. I am Thanasi, as a reminder, and today we're going to be taking in some autocross, and it is going to be a ton of fun. We are heading over to the fine folks at ADSI in Rhode Island. Now this isn't a traditional autocross. You can get to some pretty high speeds and the road surface is a little bumpy, but you get endless runs and it's a ton of fun. Now I know what you guys are thinking. What car did you bring to autocross? Did you bring something special like a Miata or something crazy like a GTO? Nope, we brought the Model Y and we had a ton of fun. But before we do that, we have a little announcement on this stream that I did promise I would show to you guys. Here, I'll just give you the keys. You take a walk around and take a gander at the newest vehicle to join the MoneyShift fleet. All right, guys, this is the MoneyShift Mobile. What you are looking at is a 1999 Porsche Boxster with an OEM hardtop. Now, for 1999, the Porsche Boxster was not a speed machine. Powering this thing was a 2.5 liter flat six. Okay, and it wasn't making a ton of power, it wasn't making a ton of torque, but what it did have, and the thing that everyone wants to point out, is the fried egg headlights, and that is iconic for late 90s Porsche, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I adore them. Yes, I know that these ones specifically have a little bit of a burn in them and are a little bit scratched, but that's all right, guys. It's a car from 99 whose main intention is to be tracked, so I don't care. Moving on, let's talk about the details. Again, this is a flat six, naturally aspirated, water-cooled engine. It makes 201 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque through a 5-speed manual. Now, this mid-engine rear-wheel drive machine weighs just 2,800 pounds. So it you know what, guys, this isn't giggle fast, but it is a momentum machine that is a ton of fun to drive, and the brakes on this car are terrific. We're talking about fixed 4-piston front and rear, which is pretty unique, and with the 0 to 60 time of 6.7 seconds, it certainly wasn't slow. It's just not fast by modern car standards. MPG for this thing, if you guys care about that kind of thing, is rated at 17 miles per gallon in the city, 24 miles to the gallon on the highway, and this thing does only take 91 octane fuel at a minimum. And let's be honest, guys, it's a Porsche, so it makes sense. Now, looking around this car, it does have some faults, number one of which being right here. There is a crack in the taillight, but again, guys, it's all gravy. And if we make our way to the inside, you see a couple other issues with the car. Well, you don't really see them, but we do have to replace a couple of the speakers, and the car needs a new fuse door. And again, some wear and tear here. It's a 22-year-old car, but it is what it is. It drives straight, it's healthy, it shifts perfect, it stops great, and that's exactly what we were looking for. So let's take one last look at the MoneyShift machine before we showcase the car that we will be taking to the autocross and driving together. So again, guys, here it is. It is a 1999 Boxster, not an S, but it's a manual, and it has an OEM hardtop, and I love it. Okay, so before we head to autocross, what are some of the things that you guys need to bring with you if you plan to get behind the wheel? And I'm going to give you guys a shot. Now, it's not going to be extensive seat time, let's be honest. It's my car, you know what I mean? But I'll give you guys some time behind the wheel. So what I want you to bring is, number one, a helmet. Now, this can't be a motorcycle helmet. It has to be approved for track use. They are fundamentally very different helmets. So if you guys haven't gotten one, please do consider going to get one, or if not, most autocrosses like ADSI do have rentals that you can use. Number two, a camping chair. You're going to be doing a lot of sitting in between your runs if you're not going around schmoozing and talking to other people, so bring a camping chair. Number three, bring a cooler, have some waters, have some lunch, because we plan to be there from noon to 4 or later. So if that's the case, you're gonna get hungry, and you bet your ass I'm not bringing double food, so bring your own. So bring a cooler. So if you got a helmet, if you got a camping chair, if you got a cooler, and if it's a sunny day like today, and you got sunscreen, you're all set. Now let's get over to ADSI. I'll hand you the keys, and you can do the first run on the track. Now it's a slower run, it's a follow the leader run, but hey, you get some seat time. All right, we'll see you in a second. All right, as a reminder, this is a 2021 Tesla Model Y, makes over 400 horsepower, weighs over 4,000 pounds, and should be a ton of fun. But here's the keys. Let's go for a follow the leader lap. So as we go around this lap, you will see what I'm talking about with ADSI. It is a little bumpy, but it's a really fun track. First, you have the option to go right or left. You went right. Super smart. You're a genius. You must be a MoneyShift listener. Then you go into the slalom section. This is where the 4,400-pound curb weight of the Tesla Model Y starts to show its bones. But with 384 horsepower and a lot of torque, 375, that's instant, we got a lot of power to boost ourselves out of these corners. Into this section, it is flat out before you are hard on the brakes and leveraging the fact that this is a multi-link rear with double wishbone front. This is a great suspension setup. Now after this right-hander, we floor it out. We use all 375 pound-feet of torque into the first hairpin. Now you're going to want to stay as right as possible and leverage these 14-inch vented disc front brakes, and you're going to be hard on them as we go into this corner. Again, this thing is 4,400 pounds, and this is where you're going to feel it. Now, one of the things that I do want to cover is the fact that we did not change tires for this day. So we are running on Goodyear Eagle F1 asymmetric tires. These are rolling resistant tires. These are meant to increase the range. These are not grippy tires, but we will give it all. Coming out of this section, I want you to stay to the right as much as possible. This will close out this turn and give you as straight of a shot through it as you can. Now, this section coming up here is very twisty, very tight, and even though this thing weighs, again, 4,400 pounds, thanks to the 50-50 weight distribution, thanks to the suspension setup, thanks to the fact that all of the weight is underneath this car, it actually feels a lot smaller than you would assume, which is pretty shocking. So as we get through this twisty section, we're getting to the last part of the course, that is the turn around section. So right after this corner, you are going to throttle out as hard as you can, and we're going to catch a lot of speed going into the circle where you take it nice and slow, nice and easy, before we get into a flying finish. Now you'll see when we take this car out later and I am behind the wheel that we hit about 80 miles an hour going through that end. So this is in fact an autocross, but you do hit some pretty high speeds here on track. But before we get a full all-out session, let's just take a listen to some of the other cars and the sights and sounds of the autocross, shall we? Little pop start. This guy was one of the quicker cars of the day, wonderfully set up FRS, or excuse me, BRZ. All right, let's get out for our first run though, shall we? Quick toot, if you will. Now this first right-hander is where you notice the sheer weight of the Tesla, but it does hold very well going into this slalom. Little cone mishap there. We're going to be on the throttle full out here. You feel the speed. Same thing right after this corner, as quickly as we can. We are back on the throttle. Taking it wide, on the brakes, on the brakes, on the brakes. Nice little right. Back on the throttle. Off. Back on the throttle again. Full. Wide. So we can cut this in as quickly as possible. And then this is where the 4,400 pound behemoth of a machine starts to feel it. But you can see it's doing a pretty good job. back and forth as we undulate down the back section of this airstrip. Back on the throttle pretty hard here. Brakes, 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 so we can take this nice and smooth. Here's some of that tire squeal there. And then back on the throttle to cross the line at about 80 to 85 miles an hour, I believe, was the final tally. But let's take a listen to some more. I felt that. Love the V8 LS. Listen to this car just actively try to kill the driver. Listen to it. Awesome. What's an autocross without me, guys? Let's go for another run after this M2. And this is going to be our fastest run of the day. We're going to give it all she got, and I'm not going to say anything here. Just enjoy. All right, as we cross the finish line, let's take a gander at the fastest car of the day, this M3. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the MoneyShift YouTube channel today. If you enjoyed this content, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.